We're joined now by Xu Qinduo. He's in Beijing. He's a political analyst with China Radio International. Let me get your thoughts on these latest developments. This report out that the DPRK has indeed successfully created and produced a nuclear warhead small enough to fit on one of these missiles. Program apparently farther along than many of the experts believed earlier this year.
Hi, Mark. Good evening. This is, first of all, it's not surprising. This is only logic from the point of view of North Korea. They have developed these delivery tools, basically to send the nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads, and then they will work on the size of the warheads to make sure it fit on these delivery tools. And secondly, if the U.S. intelligence has this information under normal circumstances, they would share the information with at least their allies, if not China and Russia, say South Korea and Japan. And then they would assess the situation, and then you would produce a rational statement, not random remarks as made by President Donald Trump here. And his remarks actually made everybody's life very difficult. Beijing, South Korea, Seoul, and Tokyo. This is early morning in East Asia. They will be struggling to respond to this very crazy remarks by Trump. And his remarks successfully uncovered the statement by Secretary of State Tillerson. He said we are not the enemy to North Korea. He said of this four no's, basically no regime change, to basically say that as long as you can start talking with us, as long as you can put aside the missile research, we can move forward from there. But obviously, with these remarks by Trump, North Korea, Pyongyang will get the message that this is the United States. This is the true intention. They will attack us. They will launch. They will launch probably attacks to pursue the end of the regime. Remember, even North Korea have this small nuclear warhead, have these delivery tools. They will not launch attacks against the United States. They will not initiate attacks against the United States because they know that will be the end of their regime, end of this country. So they are rational. Remember, they are crazy, but they are rational. But with remarks like this, the situation is very difficult. Remember, we just have this UN resolution, the toughest resolution against North Korea. You have to give it some time to produce the desired result here.
You mentioned rational response. Even some people in Donald Trump's own party see these comments as very unhelpful. Senator John McCain said, quote, "I don't know what he's saying, and I've long ago given up trying to interpret what it is that he says." That kind of rhetoric, I'm not sure how it's going to help. Yeah, as you know, China's been pushing for a diplomatic solution, wants cooler heads to prevail. How's this going to go down there in Beijing? And do you think you can get the parties together and actually basically look at what China's proposing, which is basically a de-escalation on both sides?
That's right. Because, of course, from the U.S. point of view, people see a threat from North Korea. But also remember, from North Korea point of view, they see a threat, a real threat from the United States, from the US, presence of U.S. troops in South Korea, from this constant military exercise in South Korea by South Korea and the United States. So you have to take that into consideration if you want to solve this problem, if you want to engage North Korea constructively. That's the Chinese approach, and I think there's also approach of South Korea. But with this latest remarks by President Trump, it creates a lot of difficulties on the Chinese side and also on South Korea, I believe. On the Chinese side, with the latest round of sanctions, China suffers the most. Remember, the 1/3 of the foreign reserves to be made by North Korea, by exporting fishing products, by exporting mineral resources and also coal, basically to China. So China will not buy those products anymore. This is not about this is not only about the damage of the economic relations, but also there's increasing unhappiness. Even there reported talk in Pyongyang that they can always change the direction of their missiles, probably from pointing towards the U.S. to Beijing. So China suffered a lot, for the purpose of make sure there is a nuclear-free Korean Peninsula, and also for the cooperation with the United States, for the maintenance of a good relationship with the United States. I think Washington and also Trump administration should take that into consideration too.
How do you think the Republic of Korea and Japan are going to react to these latest developments?
I'm not sure. I think it also will be very difficult for them to respond to the latest remarks because everybody was on board. Before the remarks that people say we will follow this UN resolution and impose the sanctions strictly. Tillerson went to Thailand, and Thailand also said we have cut 90% of our trade with North Korea in order to follow these sanctions by the United Nations here. And so everybody was preparing to tighten the sanctions on North Korea and then to produce some outcome to pressure them to probably to come to the negotiation table. And now with the remarks, for North Korea, they would say, this is the true color of Washington. So there's, probably they have every reason to develop nuclear weapons. Remember, their development of nuclear weapons is really to protect themselves against the potential attack, against the potential regime change plan by Washington. Remember what happened to Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Libya. So North Korean leadership, they are very smart, they are very rational. They know, if they don't have nuclear weapons, it's very difficult for them to protect themselves.
Mr.
So,
Xu,
you take all the factors into consideration, and now you have this remark. Basically, you are creating a lot of trouble, a lot of confusion, and nobody knows what's the U.S. policy.
Mr. Xu, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us from Beijing.